Welcome to Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing, one of the fastest growing real estate investing podcasts in the world. What if you could learn from experienced real estate investors? Find out what got them to where they are now. Get insight into their daily habits and take these insights to inspire your own growth. Each episode, Jonathan Greene shares an in-depth look at the mindful approach to real estate investing. Jonathan is a lifelong real estate investor and the founder of Streamline, a data-driven, investor-friendly, independent real estate brokerage located in Madison, New Jersey. Whether you're looking to start from scratch, get to the next level, or just for a straightforward and honest approach to real estate investing, this is the free mentorship program you can take with you anywhere. Now, here's Jonathan.
Thanks for showing up for another episode of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. My guest today is Nico Molino of Live in Luxury. Live in Luxury is a world-class real estate rental company offering a curated selection of upscale properties. They selected elegant homes and first-class apartments to provide the highest standard of living. We go all through that, how Nico got into it, and how he started STR Launch, a program that can help you launch your short-term rental. Let's get to it right now. This is episode 343 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Nico Molino. Nico is the co-founder of Live in Luxury. Live in Luxury is a world-class real estate rental company offering a curated selection of upscale short-term and mid-term rental properties. They also offer investment opportunities and property management services, as well as STR Launch, which we'll talk about at the end. It's something that can help people launch their short-term rentals. Nico, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jonathan. Appreciate you, sir.
Yeah, good to connect with you on LinkedIn. I like to connect direct with people now, as I was saying, because it's just a little bit easier. But I want to start with something interesting for you. First of all, tell people what a Piggly Wiggly is if anybody's not from Texas or that type of area, and then we'll make it make sense.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I've, funny enough, been watching certain episodes of your show for a couple of months now. So I'm glad to finally be a part of it.
I appreciate it.
You do a great job. You got a great group of guests that talk about a range of different topics. And so it's fun. You know, it's a lot of good information that you put out. So we appreciate you on that from the market. To your question about the Piggly Wiggly. So Piggly Wiggly grocery store is a very old grocery store chain in the South.
Yeah.
Mostly. That is kind of like a staple, a historic thing that
I think a lot of people know the name, but maybe
sure.
Have wanted to go to one. But somehow Piggly Wiggly plays a role in your short-term rental journey and your real estate journey.
Yeah. It's a kind of a roundabout way, right? You think of a grocery store, you don't think of short-term rentals, but
no, not at all.
Not at all. But it turns out to be unique and different, which is the whole goal of short-term rentals in order to be successful. So I come from the tech world. I used to sell software, corporate financial planning software. So I would work with some of the fastest growing companies in the Bay Area, all the apps you see on your phone, to do all their corporate financial modeling, financial planning. And we went public in 2018. I got to go to the New York Stock Exchange and ring the bell.
Nice.
Be a part of that company that rang the bell. And then in 2022, we got acquired by a private equity firm. So we actually went private again. And in that private overtaking, we got paid out all the stock that we were holding, which was great because I got a nice little paycheck. But at the same time, I had a pretty massive tax bill coming my way. And so I was living in Austin, Texas. I was buying old homes, knocking them down to the studs and rebuilding them.
Okay, so you're already doing that before this Piggly Wiggly comes up.
Yes, sir. So I had this background in renovation and construction. And so with that, I realized, I could take any property and turn it into what we want it to be. And so I had called my tax strategist at the time and I said, listen, we just got acquired. I got a nice paycheck coming my way, but I also have a pretty big tax. But help, please, something. I don't want to pay all these taxes. And so he said, stop doing the fix and flips and get into short-term rentals because it's a massively different tax opportunity for you. And so we were, getting out of one short-term rental, doing a 1030 or a fix and flip, doing a 1031 exchange. And so we had to identify a property. And so
Yeah.
we were looking all over Texas trying to find something that was different, something that had a strategic advantage,
Yeah.
had a story, had a way that you could market it. And we came across this 110-year-old Piggly Wiggly grocery store.
What
And
made you think that you could turn that into a short-term rental though?
yeah, well, first of all, it had already been renovated and
Oh, right, yeah.
re-permitted. So it wasn't good, right? Like, but somebody had
But
done
it was residential. Yeah.
it was residential. It had rooms, it had walls. It wasn't just an open grocery store anymore. And
Yeah.
so we had looked at probably 50 properties. And when we got to that one, and the second we opened the door, it was like, this is it. This is so different than anything
I would
else.
feel the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it had 14-foot ceilings. It was exposed brick everywhere. It had the AC ducts going through the exposed ceilings. And so it just felt like all the opportunity to turn it into whatever we wanted because we had the construction and renovation background. And so we took this Piggly Wiggly that had, kind of been renovated and we did a complete overhaul. We painted huge murals. We put up 9-foot tall plant walls with the big Instagram neon signs.
Yeah.
We themed out each bedroom and turned it into a pretty unique and incredible Airbnb that was unlike anything else we had seen in the market.
Yeah. So how long did that renovation take? And then what happened when you first got it on Airbnb? Because we know how things work. And when something cool comes on, things are going to pop.
Yeah. Funny enough, Jonathan, I lived at the property for about a month.
Oh, yeah. Nice. I mean, well, you probably have some experience with all your fix and flip. It's like, hey, I'm going to go there because it was in Dallas, right? And you were in Austin.
Exactly.
So yeah, not right next door.
And I was still working remotely in sales for the tech company.
Yeah.
So I had all the freedom. So I was like, let me just go stay at this Dallas property, manage the project, manage the interior designer. We actually did about 95% of the interior design after I realized that this is something we could do.
Yeah.
So the project all in all took about a month and a half.
That's good though. That goes with your experience though. So we always want to be clear, like, some new person is not going to take them a month because they don't have the experience to do it themselves. They also don't know how to manage contractors, which can always be a problem. Because,
Exactly.
like sometimes people are like, oh, I want to get a short-term rental before the end of the year, but it also needs work. And they don't realize they're not going to be able to get the work done and operationalized before the year end to get that tax benefit that I'm sure you were looking for.
Exactly. That was part of it is we had a kind of a tight window to get that tax benefit. So I had to
works perfectly though with your expertise. I mean, and for the benefit, you really just need to get it livable and put in a couple renters and then you're fine.
Yeah.
But like with your expertise, you could really get going on it. How much did you have to transform? I mean, it's cool that they did a bunch of the work, so you could kind of just take it from but was it a residential rental or were they doing short-term rentals on it?
Yeah. So it's a duplex that it was a short-term rental.
Oh, wow.
Now,
okay.
It was like your mom and dad's or grandma's furniture in there. It was no real character to it besides the building itself. So we had to do quite a bit of work. We had to get all new furniture, cleaned out the entire house of stuff that they had. We had to add the murals, the plant walls, the games, the pool table. The backyard needed some work. And so it took a considerable amount of work. Like I said, that's why I lived there. It was like, this isn't just to ship some furniture to the house to set it up. It was managing contractors and everything else, like you said. So it was a lot of work, man. Fun project. We always laugh because we're like, why did we pick the hardest possible one first? A 5,000 square foot, 6-bedroom, 14-foot walls, 2 kitchens, 2 family rooms, and a backyard is like, we could have started with a 2-bedroom condo and just figured it out. But instead we picked a full renovation design project for a 5,000 square foot home.
So is it 2 rentable Airbnbs or do you now have it just as 1 short-term rental?
Yeah. So you asked a good question, which is what happened when we put it on Airbnb.
Yeah.
So there's a dark side and a light side. And our vision was maybe it's a bachelorette. Maybe it's a families, adults and kids. And so we designed one.
Bachelorettes do really well in Texas and Austin. So Dallas, yeah, sure. Why not? I like the idea.
Yeah. And we did too, right? We figured there would be either large groups that book both sides, or there would be certain groups that like the dark side, certain groups that like the light side, and we'll get rentals. So what happened is we put it on as 2 individual units, 3-bedroom, 2-bath on each side.
They share the yard and amenities?
They share the wall and one side has access to the backyard. So that one rented for a little bit more than the others.
Yeah.
But they do share a wall down the middle. So we realized pretty quickly, sometimes we'd have one side booked out, not the other. Sometimes you'd have people that were trying to sleep on one side and kids that had music going on the other side.
Yeah.
Sometimes the other side wanted to use the backyard but couldn't. And then we also realized there's 1 million 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes in Dallas, Texas.
Yep.
And so as we kept tweaking it to try to figure out our differentiator or our strategic advantage, we realized there's only a handful of 6-bedroom, 4-bath homes in Dallas, Texas. So we built a door in the back that connected the 2 units, and we listed it as a 6-bedroom, 4-bath. And it took off, Jonathan.
Yep. We've had a minimum of 3 prior guests who've come to the same conclusion. They bought a duplex and were like, this is sweet. I'm going to double the income, thinking just as you are. And they all came to the same conclusion. Everyone's renting it together anyway. Like, let's just go big. Because like you were saying, there's 1 million 3-2s when you go on AirDNA. So, but there's not 1 million 6-4s that are unique where you could go with 3 families and you're actually more separate than you would be in a regular house. So I love it. So that was really the key to make it take off.
Exactly. That was the key. And it also operationally was 1 check-in, 1 check-out.
Yeah,
1
much
clean,
better.
Not 2 groups, 1 being quiet, 1 being loud. It was way easier to manage as well. And the revenue shot through the roof. So clearly it was the right move.
Yeah. And the interesting thing to note is that you can still, for people listening and they're, less experienced, or maybe they have a 2-family, you don't have to turn them into 1 unit. And like in reality, like, you can leave the separate entrances. That's kind of actually the allure of it. You're just putting it on Airbnb or Vrbo or whatever as 1 big rental. I think it's even attractive to be looking at 1 big rental and know there's 2 entrances. Now you have 2 families or a family reunion type of thing. It just gives you more privacy.
Absolutely. And that's part of the, value of it. Like you said, the allure is, oh, cool. You guys can stay over there. We'll stay over here. We both can hang out during the day and at night kind of go our separate ways, and our kids can go to sleep and we can put them on one side.
Yeah. There's so many options. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Bachelors on one side, bachelorettes on the other, but still have the common areas of 2 kitchens and family rooms and a backyard we can hang out in.
Yeah.
But we've got our own space to do whatever we need to do.
Yeah, I just think it's a great idea for people. I mean, there's so many people that obviously, they did house hacks and they moved out and, maybe they don't really like renters, but they think like, if your market supports even a little bit of short-term rentals, this could work. Or if there's something there that will bring people, like I'm in New Jersey, the World Cup's coming. So everybody's like moving out of their places and try to short-term rental. And that's like probably going to work, but also, it's going to be interesting for them to figure out. But it's cool that you didn't make a mistake, but you listed it one way and didn't just leave it like that. Was there something you were just looking at the bookings and how they were doing, and you were having one side empty a lot, and you're like, well, that's lost income and lost usage, right?
That, and I just started getting into the data more, and I started looking up the revenues for 3-bedroom, 2-bath properties and adding them up. And then I was like, what if we did rent the whole thing? And I started looking at all the 6-bedrooms, and the revenue was probably 30-40% higher than the 2 bedrooms. And that was if all of them booked, both sides.
Yeah.
All of that occupancy versus the 1 check-in and 1 check-out every weekend is so much easier. And then to your point, you still have that flexibility of, if it doesn't rent during the week, maybe we just pop on a 3-bedroom, 2-bath listing and we try to get a smaller group, and we may get half the revenue, but at least we're picking up something.
Yeah, and even if you have it listed as a 6-4 and it's explained that it's 2 units, someone could just, ping you in the box and say, hey, we're only looking for 1 side, and you could look, actually pretty slow. We'll take that.
Yeah. You want another hack? We looked into Peer Space.
Yeah.
So Peer Space is hourly rentals. A lot of people do photo shoots or have their baby shower or something else. And our place is so unique and photographs so well.
Interesting.
And we started listing it during the week on Peer Space. And we got a lot of people that wanted to book it for 3 hours or 5 hours.
Free money, no cleanup. They're not using as much stuff. So
cleaning fee went from $400 to $99, and it was turned over in an hour.
Yeah.
And you could have someone check in the morning, clean by 4 p.m. and still get a guest in the afternoon. So it actually, we found that second piece of this is how do you appeal to more than just Airbnb guests? How do you get photographers? How do you get commercials? Funny enough, we got approached after one of the PeerSpace bookings by a company, Emmy award-winning HGTV show, wanted to feature us. And so we did this feature on an HGTV show of, investments in Dallas and the best Airbnbs. And just because we offered it up to people like that, we then got booked for commercials, for other TV shows of people wanting to film. So it turned into this pretty cool hybrid property that can do a lot of different things.
I think it's smart because I go back and forth. Like personally, I like a wellness stay just because I'm an introvert. I'm not going like in big groups, but I love looking at the big group stays like in Austin, Scottsdale, where they just got all the toys and all the stuff. But like if it's not used a lot, you can see like you're hitting for the big groups. You're hitting usually for weekends, but that's just a great extra usage that I can see it ramping up because people are like, oh, 3 hours for, like you said, baby shower. You just do it in the backyard. You're able to serve food. That's a great idea. No one's ever even brought that up. Maybe once I've heard somebody said maybe they did like a wedding, more of a venue type thing because they had more land. But yeah, this is really smart. In and out. I mean, it's kind of like one of those influencer things that they have in LA where it's like, they have a plane and then a train and it's like, no one's on these, but those things work too.
Yeah, they do. Podcasters want a place to hang out for 4 hours.
Yeah.
We had a group rent it for, they blocked it for a week and they'd come in for 3 hours a day and just host different podcasts. They wanted the big Dallas mural in the background and they just wanted that as their set and the property stood out. So it's such a cool hybrid way of getting extra revenue without the wear and tear on 16 people sleeping in all the beds and the bathrooms and everything else. Is come use it for a few hours, pay you a few $100 and leave. And, you spend 30, 45 minutes cleaning it up and that's it.
It also gives you another marketing portal besides Airbnb. I'm sure that, have you thought about direct booking on yours? Where do you land on that for yourself and for what you guys do at STR Launch? Because it's such a unique product. I feel like you could develop direct booking, but people go back and forth because Airbnb is still biggest marketing channel out there.
Yeah. We have direct bookings that we get a lot of repeat clients on. There's not as many guests that find you organically until you have a big enough presence. At this point, we're at a pretty cool point in our company where we're growing really quickly and we've got a portfolio of awesome properties. They're all these luxury high-end properties, or they're the resort style, tricked out, highly amenitized properties.
Yeah.
And so all of those get a lot of attention. And now we're able to drive a lot more people to the booking site. We're also across the country. So people may be doing different trips, different times of years. They want to stay in different homes and they can do it all through us. Live in Luxury can be their one-stop shop to go stay in different parts of the country.
It's a perfect way to grow and scale is to build a few in and then build your brander out that still use Airbnb as your kind of intro to it. And then, of course, you got their email. So you're following up. Oh, P.S., we have 5 other properties just like this around the country. And then they're like, oh, shit, I did want to go to Scottsdale. And you're like, well, I think it's great. I mean, and then you just take them and move them off of Airbnb into the portal, save the fees, and still Airbnb cashed out on the first one. So no big deal for them.
Absolutely. And Airbnb, like you said, it's definitely still the big dog in the space.
Yeah.
It's the biggest OTA. It's the place you want to be. But being able to build your own business outside of any individual platform is pretty important. So taking all those contacts and being able to
it's a perk though for the client also, because then they don't have to pay the enhanced fees ever. They're going to get a better deal. They already know you. You already know them. They didn't leave a huge mess. I mean, I just think for people who are starting and even seeing the scale on their one, like, of course you want to build in eventually so you can get some direct bookings. I think it's a little not unrealistic to think you can just go direct booking. But if you build it up, you use both. It'd be hard to, like we were saying, it'd be hard to think like, oh, I can just go off Airbnb. You'd have to really have like a 1 in a million that has great SEO on its own. And that's just hard to do.
Yeah, it's pretty tough to do unless you got a massive mailing list and, some dedicated social media followers that you're big enough presence, which some people do. And that's great. Yeah. But for most companies, you're right. You need that differentiation and then leverage all the different channels you can. Get as much exposure as you possibly can.
Yeah. So, but was this the first one that you really amenitized large, the Piggly
Yeah.
Wiggly?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what's your overall view on amenities? Like if you have a big place, we're saying 5 bedrooms are up, you kind of have to go for it, right? Unless you have a view or something. I mean,
Yeah.
you just got to go for it. That's the thing. I like the smaller short-term rentals for myself because I feel like I can build that wellness retreat and spend less. But if
Yeah.
once you get at the 5 bedroom, like my friends who do it in, Scottsdale or Miami, you got to go for it because that's what's going to your ADR is going to be huge if you do it correctly. So you can book less days and still crush more than people
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. I think there's the goal with Airbnb is have a differentiation or a strategic advantage.
Yeah.
That could be a view. That could
Right.
be close proximity to something in a major city.
Yeah.
That can be seclusion away from things in a mountain town cabin.
Exactly.
It could be ski in, ski out. But to add to that is the amenities is one of those differentiators. And so you got to do something to get people to stop scrolling and to choose your property. You got to get something that when they're there, they have as incredible of a time that they want to leave a 5-star review and they want
Yeah.
to come back. Amenities do that, especially for the large properties where you got to entertain a lot of people. And so
Yeah.
if you can add those amenities, the hot tub, the pool, the fire pit, the mini golf, the pool table, the bunk beds, the slides, anything that is entertaining to people and they can stay and even on their vacation, if you got a large group, is like, we could stay at this house and barbecue and play outside. And at night, we can go inside and play pool and watch a movie in the movie theater.
Yeah.
We don't have to spend $1 anywhere else in this city that we're going to. Now, we will, but if you want to have a game night or a family night and save money, you can stay at the property and have an incredible time. And your kids, especially, will have a great time. And you can use these amenities to your advantage. And people, like you said, will pay that higher premium
Yeah,
for the
for sure.
home with the amenities than they will just 5 bedrooms, a couch, and a TV. So I'm
Yeah.
a big fan of the amenities when done correctly.
Yeah, and that's what I think is important. You have to know that specific market, understand. Like you can't get a walk to town and then think you're going to do well with pickleball. They're
Yeah.
going to the town. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, and you'd be jamming pickleball in there because it's going to be smaller lot. But if
Yeah.
you're looking for something where, yeah, people are going to come for a week, they're just going to basically hang out at the place. I wish they had amenities when I was younger because I grew up, doing timeshares and
Mm.
staying in short-term rentals, in Florida, and they never had anything. Like the development would have tennis, but it would just be an okay place. That's how easy it was back then, and they all crushed it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
now to think of myself, like even my kids are both adults now, I think like, man, we never had even the short-term rentals that we stayed at. There was like a tiny bit of amenities, but we never had all the cool stuff that's coming out now. It's crazy. Like
It
lawn
is
bowling. I like the outdoor bowling. I'd be way in on that. It's really good.
super cool.
Yeah.
Tough one to, as a management company to operationally, it's kind of tough. After
Yeah.
a few years, it gets beat up. The
Yeah.
bowling balls crack, the pins break, but it is an awesome amenity if you can keep up with it.
Yeah. But that's part of it though. A lot of it is upkeep with amenities if they're going to be outside and wear and tear and making sure that you have the right cleaners and management who are going to recognize when, hey, you don't want something chipping, because anything that doesn't look good when you have a kind of showcase place like that could be a 4-star review. So you have to be kind of, I think, like, more on top of it when you have kind of a showstopper, because people sometimes come in nitpicky. They're looking to take you down.
Yeah, they want a refund and they'll find anything.
Oh, yeah.
The only reason I came was for the lawn bowling, not the 72 other amenities. And I couldn't lawn bowl, so I want a refund.
Yeah, like I can't believe that the human size Connect 4 isn't working. I'm a Connect 4 champion, and I'm not even going to watch TV or go in the pool. I just want to do big boy Connect 4. But there, I've always said there's professional tenants who know how to kind of grease landlords. They know what to say. And now there's professional Airbnb tenants. They try to figure out where the refund is. But if you're a good host, you kind of know all the angles, and you have to combat against that. But again, I think you said before, I mean, if you're trying to give someone like the best stay, you're going to be ahead of those people anyway.
Sure.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, as long as you dial in the operations that have a team that can take care of all this stuff, you'll stay ahead of the problems. You'll make sure all the amenities work and are operational. Guests will have a great time. So I'm
Yeah.
a big fan of them. I think they definitely are worth the expense because the ADR, the revenue on the back end, is worth every dollar.
Hey, it's Jonathan. I hope you're enjoying this episode with Nico. If you want to get into some STR launch and launch your STR, go to strlaunchprogram.com. That's how they can help you with data-backed market and property selection, revenue-driven design and optimization, as well as professional operations and performance. It's the rocket ship you might need to get going. Let's get back to the show. Yeah, with let's just say 4-bedroom and up, more luxury property, what's the amenity that you think adds to the ADR the most?
I think it depends on the market.
Yeah, let's say, weather market hot.
Yeah, pools are number one.
Yeah, I think so too. It's just a
hot
no-brainer if you're year-round. Like, you got to have a pool if you're year-round use. Yeah.
A lot of the markets that we help investors get into, pool is a requirement in any properties we show. We won't even show them something without a pool. Hot tub's probably number 2 because you can use it at night. You can use it in cold times. You can use it in the hot summer at night when it's cooling down. So that's probably number 2. Pickleball court is one of those that, depending on the market,
it's coming in hot. Yeah,
huge, man. It's a massive revenue driver.
Yeah, because people are maniacs about it. Like, now they don't even like their pets. All they do is play pickleball. They're like, I don't even want to bring my pet. Who cares if it's pet friendly? Do you have your pickleball racket? Yeah, good. We're good to go.
Yeah. That's a big one. Fire pits bring people together.
Yeah.
So that's a really good one for a much cheaper cost than a pickleball court.
Yeah.
And then that's all outside, right? Because in other markets, like you said, mountain towns, cold markets, the inside amenities matter.
Yeah.
Pool table is the number 1 game inside. Number 1, it's not even close.
Yeah.
Right? You can talk about ping pong, shuffleboard, anything else. A lot of that is only 2 people playing.
Yeah.
And unless you're good at those, shuffleboard's a little different, but unless you're good at ping pong, you're not going to play it for long.
Yeah.
Versus pool, everybody can hang around the pool table. 4 people can play.
Yeah.
You don't need to be that good. You can have a blast. It's a communal way of getting people together. And, it's not necessarily like a skill game as much as some of the others. So pool table, number 1, not even close. Number 2 is probably movie theaters.
Yeah, for sure.
I
think that's just so good for kids. If you have a big property where they can just park, you can have parent time and kid time. I mean, that's what everybody kind of wants. They're like, I love hanging out with my kids, but also it's cool if you guys just watch 3 movies in a row on a Saturday. That's why we're on vacation,
Yeah. And I guess pool table would be considered game room.
Yeah,
That's the bigger room, I guess, is the game room is the big amenity. Pool table from a specific game is number 1, hands down.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. So how did you start scaling? You have the Piggly Wiggly, you see this thing's going well. How did you guys start to identify markets that you wanted to go in for? Like, what was the demographics that you were looking for when you were, going outside of Dallas for the first time?
Yeah, so funny enough, we started in the midterm rental space after the Piggly Wiggly. And the reason why is when I left this job at my previous company, I convinced my brother to leave his job as well. Didn't take much effort. He was been ready to quit, but he was in.
Ring. Hey, do you want to? Yep, I'll see you there. Let's go.
I'm done. I'll put my 2 weeks in.
Yeah.
So he left his, I left mine, and we went off and started this company. And we were looking for a bunch of these kind of coaches and stuff that you see online, and we interviewed a handful of them. And so I actually took a trip. I did a solo trip through Europe when I was quitting my job. I went out there for a month. So I traveled through 4 different countries. And every day when I was there, I was just writing out, what do I want my life to look like? What do I want my work to look like? My family to look like? My travel to look like? Where do I want to live? Who do I want to be around? And I just kept writing it over and over. And at first I was kind of writing the generic answers that just kind of pop in your head. But the deeper I got into the details of what I wanted out of my life, a lot of things started becoming very clear. And so one of those was, I don't want to work at this company anymore. Second thing was, I don't want to live in Texas anymore. As great as it is tax-wise, my whole family's in California.
Yeah.
My brother, my mom, my 2 sisters, my dad, my aunts, uncles, grandmas, everyone was in California. That's home to me. And so I'll pay a little bit extra in taxes, or I'll buy another short-term rental and write all the taxes off. Yeah. So I had an answer for that. And so the third thing was, we needed a mentor to kind of help us get this company off the ground. And
Yeah.
so we interviewed like 4 or 5 different gurus, coaches, whatever you want to call them. And we landed with a guy who focused on high-end midterm rentals
Yeah.
for corporate executives, tech nomads that wanted to live in different downtowns,
Yeah.
traveling nurses that wanted to stay for 2-3 months at a time. And without a lot of knowledge, the short-term rental space of, do we buy a 2-bedroom, a 4-bedroom, a 6-bedroom? It just, like, there were too many factors I didn't know the answers to.
Yeah.
And so we started this as a midterm rental. So when I moved back and came back from my trip, first day back, I put my 2 weeks in and I quit my job right there.
Like doing the
second thing I
checkbox,
did-
boom, that's
Yep.
done. Yeah.
Second thing I did was I told my landlord I will not be renewing my lease, and I got a new place in California and I moved home.
Nice.
The third thing I did was I got my brother and we hired one of these gentlemen that was a great mentor for us online. And he coached us through this whole midterm rental space because we come from this consulting tech world, and that whole, like, let me go set these properties up that a tech nomad or a consultant or a traveling nurse is going to stay in made so much sense to us. So we went and got 10 1- and 2-bedroom apartments, high-end,
like
A-class luxury apartments. And we rented them out on Airbnb and Furnish Finder to traveling nurses, tech nomads, corporate execs, whatever. And that did really well. Then we started getting traction because we went from tech sales to, you guys have what, 12 properties? Like, how are you doing that? How do you keep launching these new properties? Now, we were doing arbitrage. We weren't buying the apartments, but we were renting them with the understanding this
works
is
well if
housing.
the landlord's on board and they understand they're going to get what they want. You're going to get what you want. You're going to, make sure that everybody's good. And MTR, it's no one's throwing a party. They're all like working hard,
Great guests.
Yeah, the best.
Yeah, low touch. They don't need.
If you give them the creature comforts that they want, and like you said, you were just kind of lining it up for people like you, if they're coming into that area, you won't hear from them at all. They're just going to leave that 5-star at the end, and they're going to save a lot if they book off Furnish Finder. That's where you get a ton of them. I had Jeff Hurst, the CEO, on the show. Yeah, and we talked all about it. It's just I love it. I think it's just an easy way to get in, and I like midterm because you can go smaller, like you said. So and your furniture doesn't have to be glitzy. You don't need amenities like that. So your spend is very controlled. Yeah, and you can kind of replicate it, right? So and then similar to what you were saying, hey, we have short-term rentals all over. When you're doing midterm, you're like, oh, is something wrong there? I got another one right over here. When you have 12, you just start move people around. Pipe breaks, no problem. I have another one. It's available. It gives you a lot of optionality.
A lot, and the other part of that too is because we did it in these apartment buildings, it had the amenities of the gym. The pool,
great.
The hot tub right there. And the pictures were incredible. Because they were these A-class buildings.
Yeah.
And then if anything went wrong, you don't need to find a handyman or a plumber. You call downstairs and say, hey, we got an issue. They come fix it for free. So there were a lot of benefits to getting us in the game. And as we did that, we built out some partnership with some corporate companies, and they rented like 5 of them for a year.
Yeah.
And so we had one tenant corporate companies that would come send their people over and over.
That's awesome.
Our units. So that was great. Once we started getting traction, though, to answer your question, people were asking us, like, how are you doing this? What are you doing? And that's where the business started taking off, because we got a lot of people that wanted to invest in short-term rentals because of the tax play, number one, and the cash flow, number two. So that's where we started helping investors find, design, and manage Airbnbs.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of people coming in. We partnered with some awesome tax strategists that built their business around short-term rental tax strategies.
Yeah.
And we were the execution arm and are the execution arm of the tax strategy that they're preaching. So those tax strategists get their clients, they explain to them the benefits, introduce them to us, we go execute and send it all back to the tax strategist. So it's a great partnership back and forth. And so we got a lot of our tech friends that needed this, and we got a lot of other people through these tax strategists that needed this tax benefit. And so we started STR Launch, which is helping investors write off $100,000 plus on their active income by investing in short-term rentals. And we help them find, design, and manage them with this data-driven approach to a handful of markets that we truly believe in. And that's where the business really took off, is when we got kind of not mass adoption, but we got a lot bigger pool of investors versus just my brother and I trying to go get as many units as we could.
Yeah, and the thing I like about the intentional tax play is a lot of these people are too busy to even try to manage themselves. Like they're not trying to sign up for another job. It's still not going to be passive, but like they'll do all the stuff. They'll do what you say. They'll make it look nice. They'll beat the competition. They'll use a co-host. They'll do everything to make it produce because you get the tax benefits on the front. But if you want that snowball to keep rolling, you have to have someone help with operations, unless like you're moving into that. Maybe they decide to later. But I found a lot of the people who are just going to offset like a large salary, they don't give a shit. They have a lot of money. They're going to load this thing up so it looks great. And they always do well. Because they're following the advice of you guys, experts in the business, who are like, hey, this is what plays. This is what you need to do to be top in the market. And if they just listen, they'll do well. And that doesn't work for everybody because some people like more touch. But I've seen with the like, hey, I have to offset, $1.5 million salary. Let's go. Right? Yeah. Easier clients for you too.
Well said. Because the tax play drives their interest in the investment. And the ones that do it right, commit to it, they spend the money. They make sure it's done really well. The ones that do it wrong are the ones that go do it only for the tax benefit, which is mostly year one. Yeah. They don't realize, or it doesn't quite comprehend, that you're going to hold this asset for 5, 10, 20 years. It needs to be a good investment as well, or else you're just paying back with your losses over and over the money that you saved on the taxes on the front end. So great point. It needs to be done well, not just the tax play. It's the investment and the tax play need to be connected, but also separated, that they both will work individually of the other.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of people who didn't think they needed help, and then operationally they were a disaster. They're down at a 4.6, which, for anyone, other people outside of the business were like, oh, that's pretty good. No, it's terrible. You're like the worst of the worst. If you have a 4.6 on Airbnb, you won't even hit the algorithm. The algorithm is like, you're in hell. You're never getting out of it, because they thought like, oh, this is going to be passive. Like it's just going to like run itself. No.
You're competing against professionals now. It's not the old.
That's true.
There's too many investors with too much money, and they're professionals at it. It's not just put it on Airbnb and get booked anymore. So it's a great point. Got to do it right for the investment, not just for the taxes.
Yeah, and I mean, you saw that clearly because the person operating the Piggly Wiggly before you was just doing it like a regular owner, like a mom and pop, like what my dad used to do, or like places I used to stay at where you go and the couch is stained and you're like, whatever, fuck it, I don't really care.
2 days, whatever.
It's Florida, it's Key West, it's a big deal. Who cares? Everyone throws up here, but no, now you're up against seasoned operators, also seasoned investors who are using help. Professional help like you guys to maximize their income and to be as hands off as possible. I think it's smarter, if you don't want to get a second job, to just pay up for it and make the returns, continue over time instead of going on the negative curve.
Yeah, the way I think about it is this is more like buying a business than it is like buying real estate.
Yeah.
If you were to buy a restaurant, you probably wouldn't run the whole restaurant. You'd hire a general manager of the restaurant to run the operation.
At the rate that restaurants fail, I think most people don't listen.
Exactly, right? But if you're buying a company, you typically have a manager that runs the company for you. And you're the owner. You're the investor. Especially if you're making good money in your day job or your own business, you're not then going to take this on as well. And so
what about your family?
If you look at it as buying a business,
exactly.
Then I need the right people to help me run this business successfully, versus if I'm just competing against a team on the other side and I'm just kind of by myself and I answer messages when I feel like it, you're not going to make it.
Yeah, I love it. That's a great point. And I like how you modeled it to just a regular business. I can see like why, because I think the problem is that people look, it's just one property. That can't be a business. It can definitely. I mean, there's properties that make $400,000 a year on Airbnb. That's a business.
Exactly. That don't make $400,000, but your property, it is a business. You got multiple check-ins and check-outs and cleaners and handyman and HVAC and electricians and pool guys and landscapers. Like you got they may not be your employees, but you got contractors working on your business multiple times a month, on top of all the guests coming in and out of your store, quote unquote, or your restaurant. Like, you have a real business that has real traffic, and it needs to be treated that way in order for it to be as successful as it can. If not, you're either leaving money on the table or you're just setting yourself up for failure, because you wouldn't go buy a business and think, I'll just sit back and let it kind of run. Like, that's not how a business works.
Yeah.
That's not how Airbnb works.
Yeah. And you also own the asset. So your upkeep on the asset is the other thing that's going to help you appreciate and give you that double windfall over time. You've got income coming in and, oh, wait, now I'm up 200 grand because we're keeping up with everything. I mean, I think if you're doing short-term rental, it kind of incentivizes you to keep up with anything, because if you have a problem with the air conditioning, you're going to hear about it. But these things cost a lot. But I think that's a great way to think. One, business. Two, asset inside the business, because a lot of businesses are just, they're renting a place. They don't own the assets. So the extra maintenance is being done by someone else. But every time a guest tells you something, I wish there was like a little bit more, like the curb appeal was a little better. And then you do it, then it's better in pictures. You get like a benefit from so much when you adjust something in short-term rental. Because don't you think, I think that the photos themselves are like 50% of the bookings, if not more. Obviously, people see the photos, but like sometimes a photo of a hot tub, people are going to go, they don't even use the hot tub. They're going for the experience and how it's presented, the story that it's telling. And then when they get there, they're just involved in the experience. I don't know what they're going to use, but those little things that you adjust over time, they can really change your trajectory. I mean, that's how you did it. You went from 2 units to 1 and boom, there it goes.
Yeah. Pictures are everything. It is your number one marketing tool. Yeah. And it's not even close.
Yeah, I agree.
Like we'll go on a trip and my lady will look at the Airbnb for weeks before we get there. Cause she's so excited. We don't use half the stuff.
Right.
But to your point, you're excited about where you're going, and you
could use it though.
You could use all in your mind. You're like, I'm going to use all these things.
Yeah.
And then you're out at dinner and you don't use half. But it's the thought and the feeling that you picture yourself in that place having a great time. Yeah. And the pictures are what tell that story. So it's everything. Spend the money. Spend the $1,000, $2,000 on pictures.
I agree.
It will pay for itself tenfold.
I think there's no way to lose more long-term money annually than taking shitty pictures. It's because it's just that's where everyone's going to see this stuff. You could even organize your pictures poorly. Like, my friends and I would look at them for our friends and then be like, you have like an insane view and it's 19th.
Yeah.
Like no one's getting to 19. Why isn't it like 1 or 3 at least in the 5 box? These things, that's why they need, pro help. You can watch a lot of YouTube and stuff, but if people are, their attention span so little, they just look for, can I just get a snippet on TikTok on what to do? And then they don't really actually have the full form of what they're really supposed to do. But these are all like, we're given the playbook for people to figure it out right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Do it right, pay the money, hire the right folks. You'll be way more successful.
What do you think about the golf simulator coming in now? It's coming in pretty hot. I like it. I like it, especially for bachelor parties. I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah. The data will tell you whether it's worth it or not, because it's going to be 10 grand.
Yeah.
And you're going to need
you need a garage space or something similar for it where you have enough room.
Ceilings.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we just did one in West Palm Beach.
Oh, nice.
Palm Beach County has the most golf courses per capita of any county in the country. So in that market,
no
put
brainer.
The golf sim in, put the mini golf in, put golf pictures up, whatever you need. That market, it crushes. Probably a third of our bookings in that property are golf trips.
My dad used to live in PJ National in Palm Beach Gardens, so
there you go.
Yeah,
right. So he knows.
Yeah, 7, 8 golf courses just right there.
We've had multiple companies reach out and say, "I book bachelor parties and golf trips for groups, and I'd like to send them all your way. Please, direct bookings, set up, being brought to us." Yeah, absolutely. But in another market where it's a family-focused market, the golf sim might not be worth it.
Right.
So Scottsdale, you keep talking about, probably a great market to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Florida, probably a great market to do it. A cabin? Yeah, maybe not.
Smoky Mountains? No, thanks. Bad
maybe
mistake.
Not.
Yeah.
Right?
That goes back to what you said before, though, about understanding your market and what amenities work in your market. And even for the layperson, I think, even if you don't have AirDNA, which is complicated when you start using it, but if you just go on Airbnb, say you want to buy something in Scottsdale, you can just freely look on Airbnb and say you're available any dates, and you can look at everything and basically see what's booked when. I mean, you don't need a special tool. You can just do it yourself. It takes longer, but you can do the research on yourself. And like you said, I think like when I'm going, I'm always looking at what I'm going to go to. I'm like getting pumped up. Like you said, oh, pool table, I'm not going to play, but I could if I felt like it. It's just, it's opportunity. But you're selling an experience. And that's where I think people miss that it's transformed into a true business, a hospitality business, and a growing, scaling business like you've done. And now that you have multiple properties, you're able to move people around, save money, get them off there, and develop a mailing list, which is really the most valuable thing in the whole scenario in the long run.
Yeah, I think you said it, which is finding in your market who your target demographic is. Is it families? Is it bachelor parties? Is it groups? Is it multiple families? Is it skiers? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then from there, you can go on Airbnb and you can look at all the best performing properties to know what are all the guests wanting, what are all the highest performing properties, what amenities do they have in the reviews, who's actually staying there. And you can do all that. Now, the hard part is just because an Airbnb is great for the guest doesn't mean that it's great for the investor.
Great point.
If you
tell us why.
If you buy a $500,000 house in a certain market, the guests may have an awesome time there and you may make money. If you buy the same house for $750,000, the guests may have a great time there, but you may lose money because your monthly carry is much higher.
Yeah.
There's another market you mentioned. I won't say which one because this is where all the data secrets that we've got come into play for our clients.
Yeah.
But in one of the markets we talked about, if you buy a 4-bedroom house in that market, you are almost guaranteed to lose money. It is the most oversupplied property in the entire market, and it's not even close to the amount of demand.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Versus in that same market, if you buy a 5 or 6 bedroom house, it's the most undersupplied property in all of that market with massive demand. You will make a ton of money. And so this is where, as much as you can figure out what amenities to put in and what people want, the investment itself, the dollars and cents of what you're buying needs to be dialed in with the actual data behind it to say, yes, guests may love this place, but financially, if I'm buying a business, I better run all the numbers and the expenses and understand my mortgage and my property taxes. And insurance in Florida is a lot more expensive than insurance in Texas, right? So the data behind all this stuff will drive your decision on if buying a certain property as an investor is a great move or not versus just what guests want to stay in.
Yeah, I love that point. And I think it also, gives people the idea that, look, if you want to do this for tax purposes and you want to do something smart, don't wait till the end of the year and then feel like, oh shit, now I have to jam one in. But everybody makes mistakes on those.
Everyone.
They get it operational. They get the tax benefit in year one, as you mentioned a little bit before, but then they don't know what they're doing after that. And then it becomes something that they don't even want, that then starts to go down in value because they're not doing the upkeep and don't know how to run it. So, plan ahead. If you think this is something for your future, you want to be starting to get ready in January to know, hey, I got to get this done before the end of the year. It gives you the whole year to really work it out. Because all of us know in the STR game, I show a lot. Upstate New York's my short-term rental market, and people will come to you in October, and it's you're too late. It's 60 days minimum close in New York. We don't even found a property yet. We're not closing on. It's not going to happen. And they're like, oh well, what am I going to do? I'm like, I don't know. And then they go buy something in a random location, take the benefit, and then they probably sell the place. Which maybe that works for them, but I don't see it as a great idea.
You're right, though. It's once again, don't just do it for the taxes. If you're not going to go buy a $500,000 business or investment at the end of the year to stuff it in to try to get a benefit, you're going to own it for the next 20 years. It needs to be a really good investment. It's funny because, yes, the tax benefit's great, but my dad and my uncle used to always tell me, the world will, they would say, you're either going to run out of money or die before the world runs out of good deals.
Yeah.
So don't rush into it. Take your time, find a home run, find a great deal, and then go buy it because you know it's a great investment. Don't let something else force you into, I feel like I'm running out of time. I feel like I've been wanting to do this. I better take this opportunity. The house is almost going to sell to someone else. I need to buy it. Don't let those factors rush you into a bad decision that you're going to hold for a long time.
Yeah.
Take your time, pick the home run. Good deals will be there for longer than I'll be around or you'll be around. make sure you're picking a good one and take your time doing it. Do the data and the, due diligence behind it before you go buy a $500,000, $1 million investment.
Yeah. And I think your dad and uncle through you just also gave great 1031 advice, because it's like people are like, oh, I'll just do a 1031. And then they identify like crap properties and they're kind of stuck. Like, well, if you want to get the benefit of rolling the snowball, you need to buy this piece of junk and overpay for it. You just see it all the time. It's like, I think people overthink taxes sometimes. Like they're not, they just know they want to offset them, but there's lots of ways. The tax code is built for you to get deductions, and of course, is it great to do short-term rental? Yeah, it's great. If you do a cost segregation though on any investment property, you're going to be in good shape. So there's a lot of different options. I think we're just telling everyone, don't wait till the end and don't do it just for the reason you'll be a bad operator. When you could be a good operator, even if that helped you for 1 year, why not just do it right so you get something they actually enjoy, right?
Absolutely. Do it right. Take your time. It's end of April here before your show airs, but end of April, people got time. Now is the time. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, but now really is the time. Don't wait much longer than now, because you got to learn stuff. You got to identify a market. You have to find an agent who understands short-term rentals. You have to find, tax help. You have to figure out what it is now so you can get it done before the end of the year. Awesome, man. So where's the best place for people to find you guys?
Yeah, so depending on what you want, but I'd say the website is www.liveinluxury.co. It's liveinluxury.co.
Yep.
And then our other website, if you're interested in investing in short-term rentals, is strlaunchprogram.com.
Yeah. Awesome.
strlaunchprogram.com. Those are the two best places to book and stay at our properties or work with us through finding great investments.
Yeah. Awesome, man. We'll link to both of those in the show notes. But yeah, I appreciate it. Glad we connected on LinkedIn. I feel like I'm just going to start doing that on LinkedIn, how I found you. The episode before was the same way. It was somebody off of that same post. And nice. I just like the direct connection better. I feel like we had like a little bit more rapport instead of a booker in the middle, pretending the person was, baby Jesus in a nightgown and doing so well, has done everything. And then they didn't do that much. But we got to talk a little, understand your background, talk Piggly Wiggly. So yeah, I really appreciate you spending the time. It's a great show.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, Jonathan. You got an awesome platform here, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah. All right. That was Nico Molino. He's the co-founder of Live in Luxury. Again, you can go to liveinluxury.co or strlaunchprogram.com to see what these guys are doing. I'm Jonathan Greene. We'll see you next episode. Thanks for sticking around to the end so you can get a preview of who's coming up on episode 344 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. It's a solo episode and something that I'm super passionate about. It actually is about the future of this podcast and really the future for our kids. The next episode is called How to Talk to Your Kids About Real Estate Investing. It's 30 minutes of me telling you how I learned and how you can help your kids learn now. See you next episode. It's going to be a great one.